I got a 3:17 a.m. doorbell alert. The face on the video was my wife. At 3:17 in the morning, the phone made that soft, apologetic sound. It saves for emergencies and advertisements. I rolled toward the light and blinked, until the screen became a sentence neighborhood cam motion, detected at 3:17 a.m. building B entry underneath. A frozen frame of our courtyard bluish from the security lamp the door, to the opposite stairwell yawning like a mouth that had something to say. I tapped, because I am a person, which is to say I am curious, even when curiosity is. An unkind host. The clip opened. The camera has a habit of making strangers look familiar, and familiar people look like stories. A hood moved into frame, winter jacket, hands bare like a dare. The person looked up just enough for the lamplight to find a cheekbone. It was Nina, my wife, made of night. And a decision. The hood wasn't evidence. Her coat was. It's the green one I bought when a client paid me in store credit. Instead of cash, a compromise that turned into a present. The left pocket has a stubborn zipper that chews its lip if you don't coax it. Nina hates it and wears it anyway because the color makes the city look patient. She punched a code I didn't know and went inside. The door closed like a secret learning its job. The clip ended. My thumb hovered over replay. I let the phone go dark and stared at the ceiling until the corners agreed to be corners again beside me. Nina slept, mouth soft, hair everywhere. She doesn't snore. She breathes like a person believing her own alibi. Morning arrived with the petty certainty of dishes. I made coffee because coffee is a routine that pretends to be a relationship. Nina came into the kitchen wearing one of my shirts, found the mug that forgives the dishwasher, and stood beside me while the kettle argued with physics. Did you sleep? She asked. Enough to pass, I said. She kissed my shoulder. I have an early tasting. The new hotel wants a dessert that looks expensive without tasting like it. She set her mug down. Walk tonight? Sure, I said, and heard my yes. Learn how to limp. Our building maintains a message board for people who like to know when packages arrive and when raccoons disregard the posted hours. At 9:02, Mr. Patel from 2C posted the clip. I had watched in my bed. Anyone recognize doors are sticking again? The thread filled up with exclamation points and theories. I watched it like whether. I am not a detective. I am an audio engineer who teaches other people's songs to behave, but I noticed things. The way Nina's left hand hesitated over the keypad like a pianist remembering which key starts the piece. The way she pulled her hood back as she crossed the lobby, revealing the quick twist she uses when she wants to look like she didn't try. The elevator doors closed in the reflection. A number flashed. 6. My chest made a small practical sound. There are 6 floors in Building B, apartments with numbers that sound like winners. I thought about who lived there. A new tenant had moved into 604 a month ago, a man with a plant he carried like a trophy. ID helped him prop the door open once with a shoe. His name was Calder, because the universe sometimes hands you metaphors and dares you to ignore them. He told me he was a photographer. Nina met him in the corridor one Saturday when I was fixing the closet. She said later he pronounces light like it's a verb. I went to work because nothing in the city stops for a marriage unless you write a note. I nudged Faders, coaxed a vocal into the pocket it had been looking for, and answered an email with more kindness than it deserved. At lunch, I stood by the window that pretends to be a view. I thought about the video. I thought about the 10 digits that turn into a code. I thought about the way Nina's mouth had formed the word walk like she wanted to be chosen for the part. When I got home, the corridor smelled like someone had attempted soup and succeeded. Nina was on the couch with a book upside down on her stomach, which is how she says I am listening when she is tired. Maple, the building's most extroverted dog, snored in the hallway like a rumor. I sat in the chair that fits me like regret. I saw Mr. Patel's post. I said the clip. She opened her eyes and closed the book with a careful palm. She said, as if the word had a manual attached. Yeah, you were in it, I said, because sometimes the obvious is the only respectful way. And she didn't pretend. She had a twin. I couldn't sleep. She said I walked into Building B. I said yes, Why their Nina has two kinds of silence, the kind she uses to measure her answer, and the kind she uses to hug it so tight it stops breathing. This one was the first because I know a code, she said, and because I knew you wouldn't ask the concierge for the footage. I waited. She pulled her legs up under her collar, had an edit running. He texted. He said the night looked like a question, and he needed someone to tell him if it was an answer. I went up. We drank tea. She looked at the wall. We kissed. That's the part where the truth wants to dress itself. We kissed. And then I came home, and then I slept. I looked at the floor, because looking at her felt like switching on a light in a room I hadn't cleaned. Was it the first time I asked the sentence? Didn't he tremble the first time in that building? She said honesty can be so precise it feels like cruelty. We had coffee once. We talked about pictures and how people pretend they don't pose when they do. I liked the way he was careful with his hands. Then I realized I was collecting facts to justify a decision I had already made. Anger is theatrical. I didn't have the talent for it. I had questions that sounded like contracts. Do you want out? I asked. Or do you want windows? She laughed in a way that asked me to forgive the sound. I want to stop starving the part of me that likes to be seen, she said. I don't want to stop being married to you. She moved to the edge of the couch. I love you not as an alibi, as a thing I know even when I dislike myself. I am not noble. I am not a doormat. I am a man trying to figure out whether the house needs a new door or a better lock. Then we try something we can say out loud. I said no secrets, no elevators at 317 AM, no apartments in our complex names times. And if either of us starts breaking instead of bending, we stop. She nodded. Before I finished therapy, she said, and I loved that she beat me to it. We wrote the rules down on a yellow pad like we were budgeting for a door we might regret. We booked a counselor with a waiting room that smelled like new magazines. We learned sentences that don't sound like us and used them anyway because they work when you. I feel, would you be willing? I need a pause. The counselor asked what we thought marriage was for company. I said witness. Nina said. We looked at each other. Both answers were right, and neither was sufficient. Called or texted twice. In the first week, Nina showed me the messages and then blocked him because sometimes the adult thing is the impolite thing. I didn't go looking for something to even a score that isn't a scoreboard. Still life slid someone into my lane. Our new neighbor Lena, who walks at night because she says sleep has rules, and she does not. She has a dog named Finch who hates skateboards and loves the sound of keys. We walked together twice. We talked about nothing that mattered and everything that did. I told her on the second loop that I was married and that my marriage was learning a new language. She nodded. And didn't audition for a role I wasn't casting. The 317 alert didn't stop existing just because we wrote rules on a Tuesday. And it's always a Tuesday. The app pinged again. Motion detected. Building B. 3:17 AM. I woke with that adrenaline you get when someone says your name on a plane and you aren't sure if it's the pilot. I pressed play. A bike courier leaned against the glass, checked his phone. Left the night, resumed being merely night. I put the phone face down and laughed at myself for needing props. Nina wasn't home. We had promised we would tell when we were in tea. I stared at the ceiling for 5 counted minutes. Then the door opened. She came.